Dr. Stephen Lloyd, Chair of the Tennessee Opioid Abatement Council, and we'll go ahead and call this emergency meeting of the OAC to order. I'm not sure what the date is. Mary, what is it?
Today's January 23rd.
January 23rd, 2025. Welcome to the new year. Mary, I want to get through. Actually, go ahead, Mary. You can introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary Shelton. I'm the Executive Director for the Opioid Abatement Council.
And we do have a quorum. I think we have everybody here, don't we? Mrs. Casey is the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
I don't know if I've seen Clay.
Okay. Okay. My guess is Clay is probably finishing up his day and will be on here at some point.
Okay.
We don't normally do this for an emergency meeting, but I want to do it because the experience was so remarkable earlier today, and it won't take but a second, guys. But normally talk about our why at the start of all of our meetings, and today we had a great our why, and I want to share it with you because it won't take but a second. Myself and Karen Pershing were privileged enough today to attend a meeting of the parole board for the state of Tennessee. And one of our colleagues who was in recovery was requesting clemency from our governor, Bill Lee. And Karen and I actually got to testify before the parole board on her behalf. And it was absolutely amazing. I'd never seen anything like that other than on Shawshank Redemption. And, we got to talk about this young lady and the changes she's made in her life over the last 7 to 8 years, and really remarkable. She's a peer and she works at the MDC and in Knoxville and has done, a lot to save a lot of people's lives. And at the end of the meeting, I don't think there was really a dry eye in the house, and the parole board unanimously recommended her for clemency. Now, the governor obviously has, independent authority to do that, but it was a really moving thing today to see that people do recover, and recovery is possible. And Karen and I got to do that today, and I would pretty much guarantee it probably helped Karen and I as much as it helped our young lady. So a lot of great work went into that, and the fact that what she does in making sure that Narcan is in the hands of the people who need it, it's just amazing work, and that's really the outcome we're looking for. As I told the board, at the end of my little spiel was, if we don't do this for her, I don't know who we do it for. And they all agreed. So I would bet that Karen feels the same way I did about it. And I thought I would share it with you guys as we get started to get us kicked off on a good note, letting you know that the work that we do is really, really important. And I know you all know that. All right. So Mary, let's move forward with the next slide. Is Commissioner on?
I have not seen her or Matt,
okay.
I believe, log in.
All
Staff, let me know if I missed it.
All right. So, Sean, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sean Smith, Deputy Director with the OAC office.
Thanks, Sean. And Sam, our legal counsel.
Hey, everyone. Sam Buckley.
Thanks, Sam. And then last but not least, my conscience, JP Urban.
Hello, good afternoon and evening, everybody. JP Urban with the Tennessee Attorney General's office.
Thanks for being with us, JP. All right, Mary, you want to read our emergency meeting necessity statement?
Absolutely. The Opioid Abatement Council is holding this 100% virtual emergency meeting to expedite the planning and design of the county funding and community grant applications process to meet the expected tasks and activities. The OAC finds that these matters to be considered require timely action by the council, that a physical presence by a quorum of the members is not practical within the period of time requiring action, and that participation by a quorum of the members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary.
All right. Let's see. Yes, we have to actually have a motion to approve the necessity of this meeting. So the chair will entertain a motion to that effect.
I so moved.
Okay.
Second, Cox.
Second.
All right. So I have a motion. I'm not sure who made the motion. I know Casey seconded it. Who made the original motion? I'm so sorry.
I think I did. Wayne.
Okay. I'm sorry, Wayne. You're not on my
Somebody
screen,
tried
so,
to beat me to it. I tried.
That's all right. I love it. I'll always accept it. So we have a motion by Wayne Wyckoff, seconded by by Sheriff Cox. I'm sorry, I got choked there for a second. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, Mary, would you proceed with a roll call vote?
Armando Fontes,
Yes.
Ron Buck,
Yes.
Casey Cox,
Yes.
Sharm Allen,
Yes.
Clay Jackson,
Yes.
Karen Pershing,
Yes.
Ken Moore,
Yes.
Lisa Tipton,
Yes.
Mike Flynn,
Yes.
Shane Sexton,
Yes.
Stephanie Vanderpool,
Yes.
Steve Lloyd,
Yes.
Tim Fournette,
Yes.
Tommy Farmer,
Yes.
Wayne Wyckoff.
Yes.
That's it.
All right, motion carries. Thank you all. Sorry that we have to do that, but we do every time, so we'll do it. So, Mary, you want to run, actually, get us started on our agenda?
Sure. So on the agenda this evening, the Publicis settlement payment, SAS second year of funding, and then we have two approved contracts that we are bringing to the council for discussion and possible vote. That's UT Memphis and MTSU and Hustle Recovery.
All right, thanks, Mary. All right, so we'll proceed with Publicis.
All right, guys. So setting this up, Publicis is a states only settlement agreement with all abatement funds directed to the Opioid Abatement Fund. So as similar to McKinsey, the payments, there's no requirement in the settlement agreement for 35% of the payment to be directed to the counties. But the council has a discretion to do so if they like, or direct the funds another direction. And so here is the payment that is coming in from Publicis. It's about $9.2 million, and it is expected as a single payment in March or April. Oh, we've already received it. March or April of 2024. Sorry, we received it last year. Pardon. So just wanted to lay this out just a little bit to show you the payments that have gone out to the counties. In 2023, we sent 31.4 million. 2024, we sent 31 million. And then just showing you what it would be with Publicis and then without Publicis. So 27.6 million if we added the 35%. And then 24.4 million if we didn't. And just a note, the staff have been doing a rolling 3-year projection for the county payments, and that is going to continue to go down. Because remember, we had a lot of several front-loaded payments. So that is going to continue to go down over the next 15 or so years.
So, Mary, can I say something about that real quick? And JP disappeared from my screen, so I hope JP didn't disappear because he may have some info on this that I don't. You there, JP?
I am. I'm here.
Okay, JP, if I step out of my lane here, stop me. But
Sure.
Did you all know the money that's coming in for Purdue Pharma was actually to some degree held up after the Supreme Court decided that they weren't going to accept what had been put forward because the Sacklers' personal holdings were exempt from it, and so that got put on hold. And I have gotten word today, and I'm not sure if it's accurate or not, but that they have reached another settlement, and it appears it is more money, considerably more money than the first time around. And JP, do you have any inside information on that, or not inside information, but information that's available publicly that I don't know about?
I don't today. I would need to confer with Michael Leftwich on that, but I'm happy to bring more information back next time. But that sounds positive.
I thought it was positive. But one of my friends in DC actually texted me earlier today and told me that. So I just want you to know, these are the numbers as we have them right now. The possibility that number could actually increase based on the increased amount of Purdue Pharma paying into this could change. I'm not saying that it will, but it absolutely could if it is for more money than it was originally agreed on. And I'm sorry, Mary, go ahead.
That's okay. So Right. So we have discussed this internally within the OAC office, also discussed it with Sam and JP. So we're bringing a few options to the Opioid Abatement Council, and there may be another option as well, but just something to consider that all the settlement funding could definitely go towards the community grants. Or we can set it up that 35% of the publicist settlement funding could go to the counties, or the council could prescribe a different percentage, but 35% is falling in line with the other settlement agreements. Or another idea based on conversation that we have heard from various council members, perhaps part of the publicist settlement fund could pay for SMART initiative, and then the rest of it go to the county grants, or a percentage go into the communities. So there's a couple of ways to slice it here. But either way, before we finalize the letters of agreement that need to go out to all 95 counties here in just a couple of weeks, we're needing some direction from the Opioid Abatement Council about the publicist settlement funding. So we're here asking the Opioid Abatement Council to consider a motion to direct the OAC office on how to disperse the publicist settlement funding. So Steve, I'll turn it over to you.
So thanks, Mary. As you all know, at the last meeting, we had a rather robust discussion about funding for the SMART initiative. And I think it was Dr. Jackson. Matter of fact, I know it was Dr. Jackson who brought this up, who wanted to know how come the money wasn't coming from the counties themselves, which I think is a great point. And so I think we have an opportunity here, if we so choose, to allocate the money to pay for the SMART initiative out of that county money, and then the remainder, dispersing that to the individual counties based on the breakup that we've used in the past. And it would be a way for the counties to pay for that. So that's where that third option came from. And I personally like that. I don't want to bias you, but Dr. Jackson, I seen that you raised your hand. So Chair recognizes Clay Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could the executive director remind the members of the commission what our obligation is to the SMART initiative that we've agreed to?
Yes. And Sean or Melissa or Ella may need some help here. I think it's around 1.4 million a year. Is that what you're wanting to know?
Yes, ma'am. For how many years?
Okay. With two. It's a initial 2-year contract. So 1.4 a year.
Thank you, Executive Director. I'd like to point out, Mr. Chairman, that the numbers aligned almost perfectly here. If we had been directed to provide 35% of this money to the counties, that'd be about $3.2 million. And it's about 2.8 that we're going to be required to lay out for the SMART initiative. So my thinking here is, and I'm not putting forward this official motion right now, but my thinking would be that we would earmark this funding to, spend none of it, allocate none of it for 2 years until the SMART initiative is completed. If at that time the chair if the commission wants to move forward with the council wants to move forward with continued SMART initiative funding or whatever, then we would have some residual from this. Basically, what is a windfall for us because we're not being asked to give it into the county. So I would say that we would, I wasn't fast enough, Mary, to get the exact amount. I came up with 3.23 million. That would be the 35% from the counties. And so I would say, whatever that 35% is, that we would just go ahead and earmark that. I'm also open to discussion if anybody thinks we should just reserve the whole 9 million because the counties are going to be getting more money over the 18-year period. And we're going to be asked to advise them. And so, we might take the whole 9 million and withhold it for advising the councils or, further issues. But I think minimally we should take the 35%. And thank you. I was pretty close. But we should, I had the first 4 digits right. We should take this amount and earmark it for 2 years to pay for the SMART initiative. And then I'd like to hear from the other council members how they feel about the other 65%, whether we should dump that back into the fund now for award grants or what we should do with that.
Thanks, Dr. Jackson. Tommy Farmer.
I agree with Clay, and I think and I would follow up and say, and then take the residual and put it right back into community grants, and that gets that back out from OAC funding to that. And then, but I would say, I would follow up and say at the end of that 2 years, that we still look for and encourage the SMART initiative to be funded through those counties. That would be my point.
Thanks, Tommy. I appreciate that. And Mary, if you would help me out with the hand raising, because I only have 5 people on my screen. Does anybody else have their hand raised? I think I want to make sure everybody gets to have an opportunity for input.
No. Yeah, it was just Clay and Tommy, as far as I could tell.
So Dr. Jackson, if you don't mind, to help keep me on, can you lower your hand unless you have another question? There we go. Thanks, Clay.
I apologize. That was not an Elon Musk gesture of a raised hand. It was simply a yellow icon that was raised. It was not a political statement. This is an open meeting. I did not mean that in any fashion. And I want everyone in our meeting to know that I mean well to you all. That was an electronic mistake.
Yeah, the chair is grateful for Dr. Jackson clearing that up. So Tommy and Clay both, we appreciate the input, and the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Jackson.
I move that the council set aside 35% of the publisher's settlement funding in the amount of $3,227,121.07 to pay for the SMART initiative contract for the next 2 years, with the remainder of the amount being dispersed as the commission, as the council determines at that time.
Second.
So
More.
So I've got a motion on the floor by Dr. Jackson, a second by Mayor Moore.
Can I make a friendly amendment? Or you have to wait till the motion is accepted?
No, we've got a motion, a second on the floor, and now we can open up the floor for discussion and recognize Dr. Vanterpool.
I'd like us to specify on that third line, instead of with the remainder amount, I think it should say with the remaining settlement, publicist settlement funding. So it's more specific, if that's okay.
Is that acceptable, Dr. Jackson?
Absolutely.
The publicist, it needs to say publicist settlement to differentiate from other funds. Or remainder of the publicist settlement funding amount being dispersed at the OAC, as the OAC determines at that time. And I don't think it should be funding. I think it should be, I don't know. I'm concerned about it being not specific enough. That's all. But hopefully that made it more specific.
So,
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, I'm willing to accept the friendly amendment from my colleague, Dr. Vanterpool. And at her suggestion, let's change the wording to be publicist settlement funds to be dispersed.
Thanks, Dr. Jackson.
Settlement funds to be dispersed.
Thanks, Dr. Jackson. Dr. Moore, is that acceptable to you as well?
Absolutely.
All right. So it has the friendly amendment has been accepted by both the original motioner and Mayor Moore. Is there any other discussion? And Mary, again, I can't see the hands. Dr. Jackson.
On the first line, publicist settlement funds.
We go.
And I'm assuming that the $2 signs will be replaced with the exact amount.
Yeah, I couldn't copy and paste while you were talking. Here we go.
I believe in you. I believe in you. I want to say, Mr. Chairman, I do appreciate our great council staff putting up the motions in front of us. I just do better visually, and I think it may be helpful for others as well. So thank you guys very much for doing this in real time. It's extremely helpful for me.
I agree,
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Jackson. The same for me. And with my ADD, a lot of times I'll forget it as soon as it comes out of somebody's mouth. All right, so we've got a motion on the floor that's been seconded. We've had discussion. I want to give one more opportunity for any further input before moving to vote. Mary, does anybody have their hand raised?
I don't see any hands raised.
All right.
I don't.
Hearing
I
none,
don't
can-
have.
can-
I don't have my hand raised, but I've been able to look on another screen. The settlement was, I think, 8.3 billion overall, and the Sackler family does not receive immunity from future opioid lawsuits.
Thank you, Mr. Wyckoff. So I did not get bad info. So that is more money, which is good news. Thanks, Mr. Wyckoff.
Sure.
All right, Mary, if you don't mind, would you proceed with the roll call vote?
Armando Fontes,
Yes.
Ron Buck,
Yes.
Casey Cox, Sharm Allen.
Yes.
Oh, there was Casey. Sharm Allen,
Yes.
Clay Jackson,
Yes.
Karen Pershing,
Yes.
Ken Moore,
Yes.
Lisa Tipton,
Yes.
Mike Flynn,
Yes.
Shane Sexton,
Yes.
Stephanie Vanderpool,
Yes.
Steve Lloyd,
Yes.
Tim Fournette,
Yes.
Tommy Farmer,
Yes.
Wayne Wyckoff.
Yes.
All right.
All right. The
Fantastic.
motion carries. Thank you all. I like to bring recovery into our meetings wherever possible. There's a saying in 12-step rooms that God does for us what we cannot do for ourselves. So I kind of feel like that with the publicist money, and I'm grateful for it. And I appreciate the consideration that went into what just happened. Thank you all. So Mary, you want to talk about SAS's second year contract?
Yes. So we are coming into our second year working with SAS. And as y'all have seen through multiple meetings, they are supplying graphics for us, visualizations. Work is going really well. So what we're looking at here are the service hours. So the projected cost for SAS operations over the 3 years, this was shared back in December of 2023. And the second year cost, those did not include the service hours. It was just the cost for using the system. So this was new information. I just found this out recently. The additional cost for the projected additional cost for the 2025 service hours is expected to be $155,426.25. So essentially, since 1/1 of this year, SAS operations have halted because we're waiting to sign the amendment, but wanting to get the council's approval for spending these funds. And just as a heads up, for 2024, we did not use all of the service hours and had approximately $111,968 unspent. But I wanted to show y'all the slide. This was the slide that was in the deck for the December 2023 meeting. And while y'all didn't approve necessarily the cost for each of the years, this is what was shared. And so I felt like that was going to be the expectation for what we were spending for SAS. So the $446,000, that is to use the SAS system. And then the additional $155,000 that will pay for the service hours. Those are the folks that we're talking to on a weekly basis, who are designing the graphics and designing the dashboard and working with us through the various projects. Stephanie has her hand raised.
Thanks, Mary. Chair recognizes Dr. Vanderpool.
Question, Mary, can you go back 2 slides for me, please? Can you specify when you say the 111,968 was not spent, does that mean that the money is still in the Opioid Abatement Council trust?
That's right. That's a very good
Okay.
point, Stephanie. Sorry for that. So of that, essentially, I guess we allocated $1.4 million for that first year, which was a lot of startup costs, getting the system ready. But of that, 111,968 was not spent. So yeah, that still is within the Opioid Abatement Trust Fund.
Dr. Fournette.
Yes, Mary, would you tell us with this increase where that would put our administrative costs? Because that's always a question that comes up.
I will see what Melissa has available to do. That is one thing that we didn't, I mean, we're dealing with really big numbers. I would say that, not, again, not a mathematician. We're dealing with really big numbers, and this is 155,000. So maybe Melissa can have just a minute to do some math. Sorry about that we didn't think about that.
We'll give her a
She's
little
pulling
bit
it
to do
up
the
right
math.
now.
Yeah, Dr. Fournette, I'm sorry. That's probably on me. I should have anticipated that question. We have a pre-meeting, as you all know, and I should have anticipated that, but we'll get it shortly. Chair recognizes Mr. Wyckoff.
Could we also get the percentage of just the 155 minus the 111, the difference for the effectively the savings from first year to the next year, what the new outlay is?
I didn't quite track that, Melissa, or Melissa, did you track that? I mean, she's already doing some math. I don't know. I don't know if she was listening to the
subtract.
question.
So can you go back to the original screen, Mary? We can just do the math real quick. It's
Oh, you
basically
want to
155.
subtract 111
Yeah, subtract the
from
111. So
155?
basically something like $43,000 is the difference, the addition above the 111 that we didn't spend last year.
Great.
Correct.
Thank you,
Right.
Stephanie.
Thanks, Dr. Vanderpool. We'll give her time to do that, guys, and have some uncomfortable silence.
I did send you the report on the Sackler Fund was 7.5 billion. I sent it to you in email. So,
All right, thank you. I'm glad to know that my colleague is accurate.
Staff are doing math. Okay, so the with this addition, our admin will be 3.92%. Many thanks to Melissa for the on-the-spot calculations.
All right, so Dr. Fournette, did you get that?
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I think that's an acceptable
Is there-
overhead.
Well, I would like to have that overhead in my other affairs, but unfortunately I don't. Is there any other questions before we entertain a motion? All right, I don't see any other hands, so the chair will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion. We go ahead and approve the SAS funding for next year.
All right. All right, so we have a motion on the floor from Dr. Fournette to approve the second year SAS funding. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second,
Armando.
whoever said that wasn't. Oh, I'm sorry, Armando. I can't believe I missed your voice, man. I'm so sorry. So second by Armando Fontes. Is there any discussion? All right. Hearing none. Mary, would you proceed with a roll call vote?
Yes. Armando Fontes,
Yes.
Brian Buck,
Yes.
Casey Cox,
yes.
Sharm Allen,
Yes.
Clay Jackson,
Yes.
Karen Pershing,
Yes.
Ken Moore,
Yes.
Lisa Tipton, Mike Flynn,
Yes.
Shane Sexton,
Yes.
Stephanie Vanterpool,
Yes.
Steve Lloyd,
Yes.
Tim Fournette,
Yes.
Tommy Farmer,
Yes.
and Wayne Wyckoff.
Yes.
All right. The motion carries.
Awesome.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
All right, let me get back
All right,
to.
Mary.
Okay, I am going to turn it over to Sean for the next two items.
Thank you, Mary. So UT Memphis. So If you can remember at the last the last meeting in December we had, the council didn't approve the motion for UT Memphis's 10-year contract term. Again, their initial contract was for 1 year and it was for an endowment which we could not approve. And so they had proposed a 10-year contract for $3 million. Based on, the council's decision, UT Memphis has revised their budget plan and contract to a 3-year term. They've also revised their project narrative, and I think that information has been shared with you all for review. So just to clarify, the 3-year contract term doesn't change the overall 3-year budget amount of $3 million. And so next slide, I think at this time, we are just wanting to, yes, thank you. Would like to consider a motion to approve the path forward for contracting and invoicing with UT Memphis for a 3-year contract.
All right, thanks, Sean. I think most of us can remember our discussion from our December meeting. And I want to, before we get into entertaining a motion, I want to know if there's any questions from any of the council members for Sean or anybody else. Okay. Dr. Fournette.
Yeah, it seems like the majority of this funding goes to pay 2 salaries. And I was wondering, are these going to be the complete salaries for these individuals? Because one, if I calculated correctly, and tell me if I'm wrong, was over 300,000, and the other was about 250,000 a year. Is that correct?
Thanks, Dr. Fournette. Sean?
That's a good question. And you know what? I don't have the budget in front of me to see how much, to look at the exact budget line to see what's assigned to salary. That's that's something that I'm trying to see if Mark can, I'm not sorry, not Mark, but David, if he could just take a quick look at the budget to see. He's pulling it up right now so we can double check that. Good question.
Thank you. While we're waiting on that, Armando.
Yeah, I was just going to comment and say that's one thing that I was looking at is this is a 5-year project, and if you break down that grant contract amount, which you're looking at about $413,718 a year, and if that's just for 2 salaries, that don't seem to go really well with me, for the simple reason, as I kind of looked at the project itself, if I'm not mistaken, it all really comes down to simply doing some education and primarily through internet, through internet means, and reaching out to, family, friends, law enforcement, healthcare providers, and such forth. And so, out of curiosity, I went online just to look at the amount of resources out there on the internet for opioid education, pamphlets, training, and there's just a slew of it already out there. And I just feel like, from my standpoint, that this would be, I would rather see this money go toward treatment than I would for their project of education.
Yeah. Thank you, Armando. I'm sorry, I'm going to recognize Tommy Farmer in just a second. I think there's one other person that has their hand up, but I can't see it. But I'll start with Tommy, and then when Tommy gets done, if somebody else has their hand up that I couldn't see, feel free to go ahead. Chair recognizes Tommy Farmer.
The same concerns. I saw the same thing in the budget, and I would agree. Treatment or education, yes, and that's only a 50% of that. Is what the 50% is what the allocation is to the time. So it's not even a full dedication at that amount toward toward these efforts or toward the grant application.
All right.
Thanks,
I think I've put up here the salaries. Are y'all able to see that?
I can. Thank you, Mary.
Mary, there was one other person had their hand up, and I haven't been able to locate him because it puts me in with everybody who's on the call. So do you see another hand raised that I don't?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the question. And Mary, you want to go ahead and address what we're looking at?
Yeah. So, Sean, do you want to address this?
Yes, so you see here, and this is for year one, that's a breakout of the monthly salaries. I don't see where the actual positions are listed though, but you can see the monthly salaries, and that's the percentage of what's going to be pertaining to the program, and that's for over a 12-month period. And then you see the actual salary amount that's allocated to the program. And then it's broken out by the taxes and benefits, and then by percentage and also by dollar amount that's allocated for taxes and benefits for the program.
Thank you, Sean. Any other questions?
I would only comment that it looks like the numbers that we received were updated, so they have actually increased. For example, the monthly salary for the principal investigator was increased to 28,291, and that would again be at the same percentage work wise. And then the co-principal investigator, which would be number 2, at indicated here at 16,667, was increased to 17,582 or 682. I'm sorry.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Tommy. Dr. Jackson.
I would comment. I'm sorry. The others would be in
I'm
line.
sorry.
I don't see an issue with the other. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thanks, Tommy. Not a problem. Dr. Jackson.
Mr. Chairman, not a comment except to say I'd like to recuse myself from discussion and from voting on this item, as I am a volunteer faculty of the University of Tennessee. I have no financial relationship with them, but I do have a faculty appointment in the departments of family medicine and psychiatry for University of Tennessee at Memphis. And so I feel like I'm too close to this one to vote or discuss.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Jackson. We will make that notation. Dr. Vanderpool.
Please note the same for me, as I am faculty at University of Tennessee Health Science Center also.
You bet. Thanks, Dr. Vanderpool. Any other questions? All right, and I want to tell you guys, thanks for looking at this closely. It is greatly appreciated. The chair will entertain a motion in any direction we need to go. I'm sorry, Dr. Fournette. I can't. Dr. Fournette doesn't have himself muted, does he, Mary?
Oh, I'm sorry. I would.
No, it's okay, Dr. Fournette.
I would like to make a motion at this time that we do not move forward with approving this funding for this program.
All right, but we have a motion on the floor to deny the funding request, and the motion is made by Dr. Timothy Fournette. Do I have a second?
Second, Cox.
Second by Sheriff Cox. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none. Mary, would you please proceed with a roll call vote?
Oh my gosh, I did not type that right. Sorry. I have 2 negatives.
You have a yeah.
All right, is that capturing Tim?
Yes.
Okay. I apologize. I was typing your part and then I heard Steve talk and I started typing what he was saying. Apologies. Okay. Armando Fontes,
Yes.
Brian Buck,
Yes.
Casey Cox,
Yes.
Sharm Allen.
Yes.
Clay has a conflict of interest. Karen Pershing,
Yes.
Ken Moore,
Yes.
Lisa Tipton,
Yes.
Mike Flynn,
Yes.
Shane Sexton.
Yes.
Stephanie has recused, conflict of interest. Steve Lloyd,
I'll abstain.
Tim Fournette,
Yes.
Tommy Farmer,
Yes.
Wayne Wyckoff.
Yes.
All right, so the motion carries, and the funding request will be denied. And I want to remind folks on the call that this part of the meeting is for Opioid Abatement Council members only. Someone raised their hand who is not on our council. As always, at the end of the meeting, we will have a period of public comment. And please feel free to comment if you're a member of the public, but we will not recognize that in the course of our business. All right, Mary, can we have the next item?
Can I ask a quick question? We're, as the office, are we, just want to make sure we are done with this contract? Even though it was approved on March 18th, the revised version was not approved. So now this is where the office ends with contracting. Just want to make sure that I'm clear on that.
If I am wrong, council members, please speak up, but that is certainly the way I interpret this.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
All right.
All right, I am going to turn it back over to Sean. Thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
Mary.
thank you. Thank you, Mary. All right, Sean, it's all you.
All right, thank you. I want to give you guys just a little history on the contract with MTSU and household recovery. So we approved 2 grant contracts for MTSU, wherein MTSU was going to partner with household recovery to carry out the contracted grant services. Upon the OAC office's work to develop the contracts with MTSU, it became apparent that household recovery would also need to contract with the OAC, in particular for the purchase of the vans used for the for transporting individuals for grant-related services. And the council only approved the contract with MTSU. Thus, we are asking the council to approve a way forward to work with MTSU and household recovery towards contracting. So that's in summary. The next 2 slides, I want to quickly go over just to like kind of give you some insight into the particular grant contracts. They're for the 2 grant contracts. Amir, could you go back to that previous slide? Thank you. So the first grant was to expand capacity for respite housing, and that grant was for approximately $5 million over 3 years. It included the purchases of 6 vans that would be used to transport respite housing clients and to manage the day-to-day transportation needs of the respite program. The next grant was to expand infrastructure and service capacity for the residential aftercare program that household recovery already had in place. That was for approximately $3 million over 3 years. And again, that included the purchase of 4 vans to transport clients and to and from outpatient services and to and from residential facilities. Again, the reason that the barrier in terms of MTSU not being able to contract for these particular services was because their procurement and legal staff determined that MTSU's policy does not allow them to purchase the vans due to issues around the lanes. So that's kind of the biggest barrier here. Next slide, please. This next slide just kind of outlines or highlights the specific, the actual partnership that Hustle and MTSU was going to have in the contract, even though the contract was with MTSU. So MTSU's primary role was to provide project management, data collection, analysis, and reporting duties for the contract, while Hustle Recovery's primary role was to provide the all of the direct services and data entry, and also the logistics around the housing across all 3 grand regions. Next slide. So the office, the OAC office has a plan to work with both Hustle Recovery and MTSU for the purposes of contracting for the vans and other related services, and in any contract that is executed between the OAC office, Hustle Recovery, or MTSU, we would, involve the Tennessee Comptroller and the Attorney General's office for their review. And then finally, should there be any concerns as we move forward with this path, the contract with Hustle Recovery and or MTSU, And if we did find any concerns, we would definitely want to bring that back to the council to discuss those issues.
All right, Sean, thank you so much. And if it's okay with the council, I would like to request Dr. Ken Moore to assume the chairmanship for this vote, as I am conflicted, and lead the discussion. Is that okay with you, Dr. Moore?
I'm glad to jump in there for you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Dr. Moore. I will turn it over to you, and I shall do something that's very hard for me, which is to remain quiet.
Well, I'd actually raise my hand for some clarification, if I might, before we have any discussion and consideration of a motion. And that was the cost for the vans is already included in the grant. Is that my understanding?
Appreciate it. Sorry, I had to jump off of this.
It's okay. And I know you're not next week, so
I do not believe the cost of the vans are included because they have not purchased the vans yet.
Well, Shane, whenever you were talking, you mentioned that it was $5 million over 3 years, and that included 6 vans, and $3 million over 3 years for 4 vans. So that's where the confusion arose.
Let me double check on that to see if that, because we do have, like, for the expand capacity for respite housing, if the budget amount does include the vans. Good question. And Mark, if you're listening, can you confirm that for us? Yes, it does. Excuse me. It does include. Yes,
Good.
it does.
Well, I recognize Wayne Weinkoff.
Thank you. Who will own the vans and who will insure the vans under this plan?
Well, I think that right now, I think that if we moved forward with contracting, depending on how we contracted, it would probably be recovery. But again, I don't know what that's going to look like because, as we try to move forward, we're trying to figure out what this process is going to look like in terms of contracting with Hustle Recovery or MTSU. I will say it will not be MTSU simply because that's the reason why we're here, is because they weren't able, due to policy, able to hold the liens on the vans.
Gotcha. Tommy Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. The question is, our original contract, the fiduciary for Hustle Recovery, is MTSU, correct?
That's right.
So the issue is, even if MTSU is the fiduciary for Hustle Recovery, then they're going to be subject to their purchasing guidelines. And the purchasing guidelines, if legal for MTSU, are recommending no and telling them no, they can't purchase these vehicles under their guidelines. I don't know, with the original grant application, the way that it came in, and the fiduciary being MTSU and their subrecipient is Hustle Recovery, if we can go directly to Hustle Recovery as subrecipient and not include MTSU, because I think the questions come up here. I think that poses an issue. I see 6 vans and it's increased to 10 vans. I just see some problems here. I'm not saying it's not a good idea. I'm just saying I see some problems the way the grant application and the fiduciary and who applied for the grant and who's receiving the vehicles are how it's processed.
And just to clarify, there was a total of 6 vans. A total of 10 vans. 4 was for one contract, and then 6 was for the other contract.
So the initial application contemplated 10 vans, or in total.
A total.
Yeah.
Total.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Mary, if you could go back to that proposed motion.
Yep.
Which the proposal you had put up there for consideration from the council was to consider a motion to approve the path forward for contracting with Hustle Recovery or MTSU. So
That's right.
that gives the council a pathway to negotiate some of those things maybe that Tommy has mentioned.
That's right.
Would that be right, Sean?
That's correct. And that's the reason why, I mean, we also put in there, I mean, as we move forward with this path of contracting, if we happen to, identify any barriers or any concerns, we would definitely want to bring that back to the council for discussion.
With that clarification, is there a motion, anyone willing to make a motion to move forward for contracting with Hustle Recovery and our MTSU with the understanding that this is a negotiation on the contract and clarification of who will hold title and insure, and those are things that we might have to look at again. I give it another second. If I don't hear anything, then the motion dies. I mean, the matter dies. So seeing no motion to move forward, the item fails to move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Moore. Thanks for taking over for me. I appreciate it. All right, Mary, what is our next agenda item?
Okay, so I'm going to ask the same question I asked for the other one because my staff are going to ask me. So there's no more path forward for the MTSU Hustle contract. Is that correct?
Actually, I'll leave that back up to Dr. Moore.
Well, I think my understanding is we have a contract with MTSU and they have a sub-recipient, but this has to do with the vans. So I guess legal's going to have to weigh in there whether the awarding the grant still exists, and they'd have to come back with some other proposal regarding the vans that would satisfy the original recipient of Middle Tennessee State University.
And this, I may need to ask Sam or JP to chime in here, but I kind of feel like this is like we're just going to be chasing our tail, because at this point we can't execute a contract based on the different scenarios that Sean laid out. So without direction from the council, then this ends. That's what I want to make sure.
Let's get a legal opinion.
So real quick, their whole program evolves around essentially them having to have those vans for transport, correct? Because they're, based on what I had read, they're essential for the program's success. Is that right?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Okay. And so the concern is with, I guess, the members is the legalities of them actually owning the vans. So I think if they would just come back with, some clarification and we get the legalities, then I think we could move forward in doing something for them concerning the vans.
And Mary, this is JP. If I can hop in here, I think I worked with with Sean when we were working through this, and I think a concern that led to this issue is that because Hustle would be a sub-recipient from MTSU, there would be no privity of contract between the council and Hustle, and so we wouldn't have any way to ensure, or the council would have no way to ensure that Hustle lives up to its obligations under the contract. I have no doubts there, but that's a reason for bringing this back to have the council look at this, because Hustle becomes a second primary recipient with MTSU. So it's really just to protect the council's interest and make sure there's accountability.
And to add to JP's point, we wouldn't be able to secure the lien that way either, right? We couldn't contract with MTSU, who then subcontracts with Hustle Recovery. We couldn't then secure a lien once Hustle Recovery purchased the vans, because we don't have a direct contract with them. So that was one option, which is what was presented today, was possibly contracting directly with Hustle Recovery for those vans, while MTSU, while the rest of the services and things under the contract with MTSU would still move forward.
So it's basically kicked back to MTSU to see if they can figure out a way to comply.
In all honesty, I feel like JP and Sam and Sean and Mark and David have talked a lot with MTSU, and this is our proposed solution. I don't know if there are any other options. So without any direction from the council, the contract just kind of we kind of need some direction. That's where I'm going here. We either need to stop trying to contract with MTSU or Hustle, or we need another option on how to do this.
So again, going back to the original suggested motion, this is only suggesting working to try to create a contract with Hustle Recovery and our MTSU. It's not us approving anything until a contract is developed and presented back to us.
Wayne has his hand raised.
Yeah, go ahead, Wayne.
This is for JP and Sam. Do you see any path forward where this is going to be resolved on the legal front?
I don't know if you want to go first, Sam.
I think there's a possibility that we could contract with both. But I do have some reservations, and that's why we worded the motion as carefully as we did, so that, it is that continuing those conversations with both parties to make sure that everything's in line. That's why we included in there discussions with the Attorney General's office and Comptroller to make sure, hey, they're okay with it, and then present it back to y'all if y'all want that. The council wants that before anything is finalized. That may be another option as well.
Is there any consideration for reconsideration of the original item where we were looking for a motion? Or is there any modification of this for another motion? That's why you're chairman, Stephen.
Well, I recused myself from this one, and so and I need to, because I am obviously conflicted. So, but I have knowledge of what exactly happens here, and it pains me that you would look at dissolving a grant of this size that I know how many people it's going to reach, because some attorneys for the university doesn't want to take on any kind of liability over some vans that were included in the proposal. I think that would be a shame.
If we had the approval of the Attorney General and a Comptroller, if we sent them something asking them to review it, if it met all the legalities, would that not be able to provide a path forward?
See, I've got two other hands. I've got Tommy and I've got Wayne. And if we could answer Armando's question, that'd be great. I think maybe the answer has already been given there, Armando, because JP and Sam has said that any contract would have to go to the comptroller in his office to approve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we have a path forward, because right now we're at a standstill. Mm-hmm. So if there's a path forward to contract before we do the contracting, we would send that proposed language to the comptroller or Attorney General's office for review.
Yeah, that's kind of that's what I was thinking of as a way that we can go forward in order for this to get to them.
Yeah, but we don't have any, without y'all's approval, we can't send anything to them.
Wayne, did you have another comment?
Yes. has it been made clear to MTSU and Hustle that if we can't resolve this, that we have reservations about the entire project?
Yes. And I mean, we've had several discussions with MTSU about this. And, going back to what Sam had said, I mean, this was just, our good faith effort in trying to explore ways we could possibly move forward with contracting with Hustle Recovery and or MTSU.
Sean, do you see a path forward?
I think that, well, let me think about that. I honestly think that, it's possible that we could find some common ground to move forward, but I don't really know, because, we were expecting to get some guidance from the council here tonight. And then I think our next step was to, follow up with MTSU with several questions to kind of help us better understand the best path forward. And that's something we were going to do based on, if we were going to get the green light here today, we were going to follow up with them tomorrow to talk about some of these, the logistics to kind of help us better understand the best way to go. But so I guess the answer is yes, I do think that it's possible. And I think in my opinion, I think it's worth the effort to explore that path.
Well, let me understand. We've been negotiating with MTSU, but not Hustle. So you were
That's
looking
right.
for guidance to negotiate with both.
That's right, because right now the contract has been, with MTSU. And so we've been trying to seek solutions that would only involve contracting with MTSU. And now that we've realized that because of some policy issues, MTSU can't hold the liens on the vans, we are looking to see what options we have with contracting with Hustle.
Mr.
I
Chairman,
see Clay Jackson's got his hand up, and then I'll get Tommy Farmer after that.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Temporary Chairman. I think that the challenge here is, I think the council is balking on voting to approve something that we don't know what it's about. And I think the staff is not wanting to enter into negotiations that they're not authorized to do. So as I see it, the motion that needs to be crafted here needs to give the staff the explicit authorization to negotiate with Hustle to cover their end of the contract. And then once they've negotiated, then Hustle presents something to us that somebody can review and then present to the council to vote on. We can't approve this today because we don't know what we're approving, but the staff can't negotiate without authority to negotiate because we've never split a contract this with a subcontractor before. So with that in mind, I move that the council approve the OAC staff to negotiate directly with Hustle Recovery to provide certain services of the proposed MTSU contract. And after that discussion, Hustle Recovery will present a proposal that the council can then review and approve or disapprove.
Is there a second to that motion? And then I need a second before I can go to Tommy for his comment.
Second, Vanderpool.
Thank you. Open for discussion, Tommy?
I would just simply ask the question, who is the grant, who submitted the grant and who is our contract with now? It's with
MTSU.
MTSU.
Yes.
Yeah, I just, again, I just present and I defer to legal on this. I just think that we have some issues. If the OAC has received a grant, it's been reviewed, it's been approved, and now we're going to make a motion to negotiate with the subrecipient of the grant. I'm not saying this is not a good plan. I'm just saying the precedents could be significant.
Other comments? Well, you still have your hand up, Wayne?
Could we amend this to say, to negotiate with Hustle and MTSU, because I think MTSU is going to be part of the final solution in this issue anyway. So I
That's
would like to
correct.
offer that
Mr. Chairman,
friendly.
point of order. Mr. Chairman, point of order. We can't amend a motion that's on the floor until that motion's been seconded.
You're right. There was no,
I seconded
Stephanie
it.
Vanderpool did second it, so it is an
Yeah.
appropriate
I'll try to pay more attention.
amendment.
I've been half asleep. My fault. That amendment.
So is there a
that
second to the amendment to the motion to include Middle Tennessee State in the motion?
Okay, I accept the friendly amendment.
Okay. And Stephanie, do you accept that friendly amendment?
I do.
Great. All right. Any other comments? Mary, we call the roll, please.
Sorry, this is the witching hour for my beagle. So here we are. Okay. Armando Fontes,
Yes.
Ron Buck,
Yes.
Casey Cox,
No.
Sharm Allen,
Yes.
Clay Jackson,
Yes.
Karen Pershing,
Yes.
Ken Moore,
Yes.
Lisa Tipton,
No.
Mike Flynn,
Yes.
Shane Sexton,
Yes.
Stephanie Vanderpool,
Yes.
Steve Lloyd, Steve
Abstain.
Lloyd. Okay, he's abstained. Okay.
So what's the tally there?
Oh,
I had
oh.
2 no's and I think the rest were yeses.
I have 3 more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Tim Fournette,
Yes.
Tommy Farmer,
No.
Wayne Wyckoff.
Yes, and Ken's trying to cut me out of the process.
So there are 3 no's and 1 abstain.
And how many yeses?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 yeses.
And so the motion passes, and we'll look forward to something coming back in the future. So with that said, I would love to pass this back to the real chairman of the OAC.
So thanks, Dr. Moore, and just so y'all know that I pay attention. Anytime I get into something contentious coming forward, I'm going to recuse myself and turn it over to Dr. Moore. So thanks, Dr. Moore. And again, I would like to remind our audience that this part of the meeting is for the council members only. And those of you who keep raising your hand, I am in a way ignoring you because it's not appropriate to raise your hand right now in the kindest possible way. At the end of the meeting, we will have a period of public comment, and you can feel free to give brief comments during that time. So, Mary, can we move on? Thanks to the council for that discussion.
Yes. There was a hand raised, but it went down, and Wayne's hand is down now. Okay, Amy, we have Amy Brown. And we have JP's hand is raised as well.
But Amy Brown is not on our council that I know about.
No. Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought we moved to public comment. I'm so sorry. I was.
But I will extend it to JP though. JP.
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to follow up from your question earlier. The Attorney General actually released a press release shortly before this meeting. Tennessee's getting 90 million, more than 90 million from the Purdue-Sackler settlement. So wanted to give you that detail before the meeting ended.
Thank you, JP. And JP, anytime you need to tell us we're getting millions more, please feel free to raise your hand. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay, you can continue.
We have no more agenda items.
Okay. All right. Thanks to the council. And we will now enter our period of public comment. So if you have a comment, please raise your hand. We will do our best to get to them in the order that they come in. And I'm sorry, I do not ever want to be rude, but that is the grounds of which we handle our business. And I would like to remain, and Amy, we will get to you. I promise you. I'm getting ready to recognize you, but we want to keep our comments brief. to 2 minutes or less. And it's a reminder, it's not a question and answer session, but we will do our best to help you going forward. So Chair recognizes Amy Brown.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I suppose I could put on my camera too. Hi, I apologize for prematurely raising my hand. The slide went up for public comment indicating that we should raise our hand. So I clicked to raise my hand once the slide went up. But in any event, I'll be very, very brief. The Sackler settlement, I believe, presents an opportunity for us to reflect on a few things. First, studies show that decisions to use medication-assisted treatment with pregnant women may be more nuanced than the pharmaceutical companies would have us believe. For example, a 2020 study revealed that it was a study of pregnant women with substance use disorder. Of the babies born to the mothers in the study who were using MAT, 91% suffered NAS, or neonatal abstinence syndrome, versus 62% of babies born to mothers who tapered versus 0%, 0 instances of NAS in babies who were born to mothers who detoxed during pregnancy. The study concluded that detoxing during pregnancy does not apparently harm the fetus. Neonatal abstinence syndrome is up in Tennessee. It's rising per the 2024 Tennessee Annual Surveillance Report. It's being attributed to the uptick in use of MAT. Most of the babies with NAS are withdrawing from the MAT. Number two, moms around the world are reporting that they are not informed of the long-term effects or the risks associated with MAT. They're being advised somewhat as to the risk of NAS, but not as to the long-term effects. And this is a problem because when the long-term effects emerge, typically it's between the ages of 3 and 5, these moms are totally unprepared. They have no idea what's happening, what's developing. They have no resources. And the result is that these kids go without. They suffer, they go without treatment. When the babies withdraw in the hospital, they are sent home with a congratulations, you have a perfectly healthy baby. You don't ever have to give this another thought. That couldn't be further from the truth. And the mothers are learning this the hard way. Now, there's also a lot of studies showing that there are long-term effects. I'll mention a couple just briefly. One, a Center for Disease Control study of Tennessee children revealed that their prenatally opioid-exposed children in Tennessee are significantly more at risk to require special education services in Tennessee. Other studies show that the neurodevelopmental disorders emerge in childhood and affect behaviors of everyday functioning, ranging from intellectual disabilities, communication disorders, autism spectrum disorder, learning disabilities, specific learning disorder, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That's from the American Psychiatric Association. So again, we have a situation where all of those disorders and long-term effects that the studies are, the moms, the caretakers are not being prepared for that. In fact, they're being told the opposite. You have a perfectly healthy baby, no reason to consider this again. The moms around the world and in Tennessee would like informed consent. They'd like to know about these risks. And moreover, I'm not suggesting that we should stop prescribing MAT to pregnant women. What I am suggesting is that if we're going to continue that with these policies and funding this, we also need to come out of denial about the consequences and also fund and treat the children after they leave the hospital in the long term, where we're treating the moms and then not treating the consequences, the impact of the MAT and the opioid prenatal exposure for the kids in the long term. Last, I trust that we have learned something from the OxyContin fiasco. I know that we won't repeat our mistakes. I know that we will not take the marketing messaging of pharmaceutical companies as wholesale truth. I know we're not going to repeat that. If you need more information, I can give you studies, you can talk to the moms, you can talk to the children, many of whom are now adults. They will be happy to tell you. Also, I met with the delegate chair of Florida's Opioid Abatement Council, and he's going to serve as an ambassador for my cause, for the cause of the children. And he offered to speak to you as well. If you need any information, need anything, please don't hesitate to ask. I tried to be brief. I appreciate your time. I know you've had quite a bit of time and attention devoted to vans. So thank you for hearing my cause. That's all I have.
You bet. Ms. Brown, what do you do for a living?
I'm an attorney.
Okay.
In Knoxville.
All right, I appreciate it. If you will reach out to the Abatement Council, we're easy. The staff is easy to find, and you can search Mary's email and email Mary. And Mary, if you would provide Ms. Brown with my cell phone number. Ms. Brown, you can text me, and I will talk to you. I love your passion, and these are all things that we have given considerable time and thought to, and I'll be happy to discuss that with you. So thank you. And you bet. And I hope that I wasn't rude. I did not mean to be rude if I was, and I apologize. Does anybody else? I haven't seen any other hands come up from our audience. Okay. And seeing none, we get to my favorite part of any meeting, which is adjournment. So actually, let's real quick, our next council meeting, March 3rd, 2025, 12 Eastern time. That means we're going to be in the Eastern time zone. And we're coming to the land that gives us Tommy Farmer. So we shall pay due respects when we get there and thank them for that gift. And I'm glad we're going to Chattanooga, and because I love a lot of things that are coming out of Hamilton County right now. So everybody mark that on your calendar. And the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn by a dog.
Oh, sorry. You can hear. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. It's appropriate. That could have been me. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
So moved by Tommy Farmer. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Moore. I'm sorry, Casey, I got you confused with Dr. Moore. Second by Sheriff Cox. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mary, would you proceed with a roll call vote?
Armando Fontes.
Yes.
Ron Buck.
Yes.
Casey Cox.
Yes.
Sharm Allen.
Yes.
Clay Jackson. Karen Pershing.
Yes.
Ken Moore has left. Lisa Tipton.
Yes.
Mike Flynn.
Yes.
Shane Sexton.
Yes.
Stephanie Vanterpool. I believe Stephanie has left. Steve Lloyd.
Yes.
Tim Fournette. Okay. Tommy Farmer.
Yes.
And Wayne Wyckoff.
Yes.
Yep, we've got approval from Mr. Wyckoff. This this emergency meeting of the Tennessee Opioid Abatement Council stands adjourned. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye.